Right then guys, it's time to fix Everton. They are a team and a squad and a side that definitely needs some TLC this summer, hugely so after a very precarious one last year. The squad is looking worse for wear, lacking depth, desperate for quality, and Frank Lampard needs to make some moves pretty quickly alongside new appointed director of football Kevin Thelwell. They've got a huge job on their hands this summer, and the success or lack thereof will affect the next 2 to 3 seasons in my opinion. So in this video, we're going to have a look at the money available to Frank Lampard, the situation he finds himself in, the areas that Everton must strengthen in this transfer window, and give you some options to strengthen Everton and fix them ready, all patched up and good to go for the next season. Before we dive into it, if you enjoyed this video by the end, please do consider subscribing to the channel, and if you've enjoyed previous videos, hit the button right now, why not? Also, go and check out the other wicked videos where we are rebuilding and putting forward transfer strategies in terms of Newcastle, Arsenal and Spurs so far, with more to come. So, in terms of money available, it's quite hard to tell when it comes to Everton these days, the true finances and what they are. Despite Everton recording major losses, they have been able to write some off due to COVID, and that has allowed them to breathe a little bit and loosen their belts somewhat. However, it still feels like a major outgoing could be the main way to finance Everton's summer spending. And of course, there are two main assets at Everton that they could utilise to bring in that money: Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So first question for the Everton fans, why did I do that? First question for the Everton fans, who are you selling? Richarlison or Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Let me know in the comments down below. So first off, Richarlison. Now, there's been so much talk about Richarlison in the transfer window, linked with Chelsea, linked with Tottenham, linked with Arsenal, I think, at times as well. You would easily be able to get 50 million for Richarlison this summer, and that is actually how much he's worth. He's a really, really good player, but the problem you have with him is, so first of all, you bring in that 50 million, that allows you to probably have about 60 million to spend in the summer transfer window. But the problem you've got is that you need to replace a very, very difficult skill set in what Richarlison provides. He's very unique in this Everton side, and that could make it very, very costly. Then there's the option of selling Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, the difference here for me is the fact that, first of all, you'd get less money. I think even a big wealthy club that wants to go for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's not had the best of seasons last season, you're probably going to get 40 million quid, especially a Premier League club with him being a homegrown player. So that's obviously less than Richarlison. That means you've got 50 million quid, let's say, to spend on your summer recruitment and to replace Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But replacing Dominic Calvert-Lewin's profile is not easy, but it's an easier proposition. So to summarise, in terms of money, it looks like unless you bring in some money, you're going to have very, very little to spend, and it's then going to be down to free transfers and loans, which is not what anyone really wants. Having said that, Everton have also just recently announced a record-breaking sponsorship deal with Stake.com. So what bearing that has on the money that is available to Everton in the transfer window is anyone's guess as well, but could bump it up just a little bit. Well, let's have a look at the weaknesses of Everton, which is a very easy discussion to have because it's been very, very poor last season and they need to improve pretty quickly. Everton finished the season averaging only 1.136 XG per game. That's the 15th worst in the league, and that's the first and main weakness for Everton is chance creation. They don't create enough. They're not fluid in attack. There aren't multiple players creating chances as well for each other, and that is necessary for Everton moving forward, because if they continue to struggle in terms of creating, then they're not going to score goals, and then it's only one goal that the opposition need to score for them to lose football matches. Playing for Everton is high pressure at the very best of times, and so Everton creating 3.34 shots on target per 90 last season, which puts them 17th in the league, is just a recipe for disaster, to be honest. Right, let's take a step back from the ultimate goal of chance creation, because there are other problems here that lead to it. First of all, breaking of the lines. This is something Everton are really, really poor at. Last season, they averaged 22.2 passes into the final third per game last season. And it will come as no surprise that that was right down the bottom when it comes to that metric. The last metric that's worth discussing, again, in terms of getting yourself up the pitch and dislodging the opposition and making them find it difficult to defend against you, is the fact that they were averaging only 30.7 progressive carries per 90. That's 16th in the league. And the most depressing element of that stat is the fact that Anthony Gordon was providing 5.43 progressive carries on his own. So without that, it would have been even worse for Everton last season in terms of be it playing through a team or driving past a team. Everton needs some dynamism and pace in the midfield area desperately. So what are the three areas specifically that Everton need to strengthen? First of all, focusing on that midfield, poor open play, chance creation, and also a bit of set-piece quality as well in that midfield. If you think of the midfield two that they always generally have played over the last few years, those two central midfielders don't create enough. In terms of averaging shot-creating actions, only 2 players averaged over 2 in the last season. That was Iwobi and Dele Alli. Now, Iwobi came in and actually did really well under Lampard, but Dele Alli barely played. Everton also haven't replaced the quality of Lucas Digne in terms of those set pieces. So I think one area to strengthen is in midfield as an 8 who can create from open play, but also maybe offer up some quality from set pieces too. Next area, again, midfield, a lack of a true number 6. If you ask most Everton fans, I think that's what they're gasping for, is a more control in midfield, more dominance in midfield, and a proper 6. Delph was okay when he played there this season, averaging 5.14 tackles and interceptions per 90, which is really good defensive output actually, and it's something that no other Everton player was able to provide. However, Everton couldn't rely on Delph because he's made of glass and he's now left the club. And now a lot of people think that Alan can play that number 6 role, but I'm not sure that really is him, you know. He seems to be unable to kind of get on the ball properly. Maybe he needs better players around him and that will help. But I would say a true number 6 would allow him to go and pressure the ball and do what he does better, which is that defensive output. And finally, the scariest hole that will be left at Everton is if Richarlison leaves. So they need a Richarlison replacement. It looks like he wants to move as well, and he has been awesome. 10 goals and 5 assists in the league last year. He was the only player to score double digits last season. So if he goes, and it looks like he will go, you need a successor that's going to come in and hit the ground running. You need to replace his pace, directness, and finishing ability, output. We need a winger that's going to provide some output for Everton here. Right, let's have a look at some of the early links so far. The first one that I think is phenomenal if they can get it over the line, and they're battling with Arsenal and West Ham at the moment for his signature, is Zinchenko. Of course, they've got Mikalenko already on the left-hand side, who actually improved as the season went on. But to bring in Zinchenko in midfield, obviously, would be absolutely huge for Everton. And one where I would be surprised if Zinchenko wanted to go and do that. But he's also someone you could imagine would be put under the spell a little bit by the romance of maybe Everton. So that would be a really, really good option. Other incomings, Armando Broja, the Albanian striker, was linked a few times with the Blues, and with game time unlikely at Chelsea next year, a move to Everton could be legitimate. Christian Eriksen, the Dane, has been recently linked with Everton, but it's hard to see him joining if Spurs or Manchester United are an option. Harry Winks. Everton are in desperate need of midfielders, so this is also unsurprising. Another midfielder, Conor Gallagher. Everton's need for midfielders, accompanied by Gallagher's Chelsea connections, seem like a Lampard signing all over. It remains to be seen if Everton can afford him, though. It'd be interesting to see if Gallagher wants to go on loan once again or wants a permanent move. Adama Traore. Rumours of Traore coming as Richarlison replacement, which seems like bad business. Replacing 10 goals a season with 1 goal a season feels a little bit dangerous to me. And Hull City attacking midfielder Keane Lewis-Potter also linked with the move, but rumours have died down. And in terms of outgoings, we've spoken about Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin being options, but Andre Gomes, the Portuguese midfielder, looks like he might exit as Lampard looks to refresh that midfield. And Yerry Mina, a good defender on his day, but doesn't have enough of those days and will likely exit due to injury problems, linked with Marseille. Right, let's put forward 2 transfer options per area that needs strengthening. All targets identified are 26 and under. That's in keeping with Everton's supposed new transfer strategy that will make them sustainable in the market moving forward. Something, of course, they haven't done very well in the past. Right, first up, 2 creative 8s. Kicking off with Marco van den Boomen. That's right, the name I love to say. 26 years old. Someone needs to grab this guy. Who really do. 26. He stands at 6'3". He plays on the left of a 3. I think Lampard's going to make that move. He's not going to be playing 2 in midfield once again. He was directly involved in 33 goals last season from midfield. Waterloos, but still, he has insane delivery with both feet. It's really weird watching him because he's so big. You don't expect him to have that kind of quality with his passing. And the most important thing with this guy is that from set pieces and corners, he's quality, like James Ward-Prowse quality, and that's why he's had so many goal involvements due to those set pieces. So in terms of that area that's a real problem for Everton, that would be something that he could provide to allow them to get over the line at times and improve their game state a lot of the time and to relieve the pressure a lot of the time as well. He's playing for a League 2 side, or League 2 side if you're trying to be French, and you can maybe get him for about 5 million. 26 as well. It's a no-brainer, it's a safe bet, and you know he will offer some set-piece output. Get it done. The Boomer. The other problem Everton had, which we highlighted, was the progressive carries received. And someone like Gerson, 25, who plays for Marseille, could be a really clever bit of business here. Now, first of all, you've got Yerry Mina, who's been linked with Marseille, so there might be able to be a swap there if they can agree that Yerry Mina's worth 20 million. Maybe a bit too much, but you might even be able to get Gerson for free. What's great about Gerson is that he's progressive carries last season. 5.1 per 90 last season was really, really impressive. Gets into those half spaces, is able to get on the ball at that moment, provide that progressive carry, or just stay up there and get on the ball and then create things from there. Can play as a central midfielder, attacking midfielder, can play as a left winger as well. 9 goals and 7 assists in Ligue 1 last season. I think he'd be a really, really good option for Everton to provide someone who kind of gets on the ball, is able to work those half spaces on the half turn, move, and then start to create that little bit more for the team. All that said, if you can get Zinchenko, I mean, bloody hell, go get him. Next up, that true number 6 position. Mark Roca would have been great. But Leeds have obviously been able to go and sign him. So I'm going to put forward Ethan Ampadu. Ethan Ampadu was at Venezia last season. Obviously still is a Chelsea player, believe it or not. 21, he's already played 36 games for Wales. Has great size about him as well. And can play in that 6 role. He can actually play in quite a few different roles. He can play as a centre-back, he can play box-to-box as well. For Venezia last year, again, part of his education, yes, there's been relegations at Sheffield United, Venezia last season, but he played as a regista at times for them. Was very good in terms of his vision on the ball, which is something I don't think he gets enough credit for. And is a solid holding midfield player there, who I think, look, success isn't always linear, nor is development. But the important thing, I think, for a lot of these players is that they're getting out there and experiencing life, experiencing football, and you cannot deny that Ampadu is completely unafraid of doing that. And I think then stepping in and using that link between Lampard and Chelsea, you get Ampadu, 21-year-old, who has experienced life a decent bit, and he will be a bit more mature, provides size, and you can get him for around 15 million. The second player is a player that not many people are shouting about, but they should be. It's Geordie shouting. Sounds like a reality show, doesn't it? It's Geordie shouting. Best. 25. Played for Bologna last year. Played in a single pivot. Last year, his main kind of role was being in that middle third, shutting down play, looking to get on the ball and recycle possession. He averaged 4.63 tackles and interceptions, which is pretty solid, to be honest, producing good levels of output that you want to see. Obviously at Bologna as well. Great thing here is, and you've got to kind of go somewhat underground with some of these players, is that this is a player that you could get for around 8 million, something like that, which is cheap. He's young, and the hipsters haven't really sort of spotted him just yet. So could be a really smart move for Everton to bring him in. He impressed so much for Bologna last season. He's already got his call up for the Dutch national team, which I think provides that pedigree in terms of understanding that this guy is quite possibly the real deal and would come to the Premier League with something to prove. Right, let's talk Richarlison replacements. The time will come. The guy's going to move on. So this, first of all, I think is hands down the best replacement available right now that Everton could get their hands on. Martin Terrier, 25, Stade Rennais, 21 league goals last season. As I say, only 25, sort of hitting his prime. Transfer Market is saying that he's worth 22.5 million. I think he would cost about 25 to 30 million. So the question, of course, is, do Everton have that money for him? And that would only come if Richarlison does make the move. Can play within the skill set that Richarlison provides at the moment. Play as that left winger, can play as that striker as well, can play on that right hand side if you need him to as well. And the output's there with 21 goals last season. I think he'd be a really, really strong option for Everton. Has been linked with Spurs, has been linked with Liverpool actually in the past as well. Would be a really strong acquisition for Everton. And if you're going to lose someone like Richarlison, you want to go for it a little bit. And Terrier would be that option. Second option is Terrier in 3 years' time, but this guy is a real gem. And if you want to go long term, this is the problem that Everton have, is that yes, they want to go long term, yes, they want to be smart and clever and youthful, right? But they also need to stay in the division. But this guy could be able to deliver both, but it's a lot of pressure to put on 20-year-old shoulders. Jorginho Rutter. Forward for Hoffenheim, bit more of a forward than Richarlison. Scored 8 goals from 13 Bundesliga starts last season at 20 years of age. And he looks to be something really, really special. And he's on his path to global stardom, if I'm honest. Can play a bit more as an inside forward than that left winger that Richarlison provides. So would be a little bit different. But his pace and play style allow him to kind of to offer so much to teams at the age of 20. could potentially cost 35 million because of how impressive he has been for Hoffenheim so far. But he's one that isn't really on the radar of many teams outside of Germany right now, and one where Everton can steal a march maybe on a really exciting young prospect. Right then, guys, talk to me. Let me know in the comments below how you're feeling about some of the options that we put forward and the situation that Everton find themselves in the summer transfer window. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button and check out the other videos that we've done on Newcastle, Arsenal and Spurs so far. And I'll see you in the next one.